All right, A to Z Sports. We are live. It is Titans post game live here. Sam Phelan and Jack Gentry with A to Z Sports. A 34-14 loss in Duval for the Tennessee Titans. They fall to 3-7. It's bad, Jack. A couple trick plays in there that resulted in some touchdowns and got some points on the board, but the Titans were overmatched start to finish here. So a lot to talk about. Before we jump into all of it, tell everybody what they got to do, Jack Gentry.
Yeah, guys, while y'all are trickling in, let's make sure to share the show on Facebook. So share it to your Titans Facebook groups. I know all of you guys are a part of them. I know all of y'all have thoughts on today's game. And there's a lot of finger pointing to be done this week and some looks in the mirror need to be taken. But before any of that happens, we're going to hear from you guys. We're going to grow the show, grow the audience. We're going to grow the comment section. Like the show as you're in here. If you're watching on YouTube, tap that bell icon at the top of your screen, turn your notifications on so you don't miss an A to Z post on YouTube. Finally, if you're watching via Twitch, text that Twitch link to your Titans text groups. Friends, your family, whoever else is disappointed in this team can all come in here and chime in as we dive through this mess, this embarrassing loss on the road to Jacksonville.
Yep. Before we get into the rest of it, want to give a quick shout out to all of our game day partners who are helping us make the show happen each and every week. That's X Golf Nashville, the home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee. X Golf, play, train, entertain at xgolfnashville.com. The Mint Gaming Hall, home of big jackpots and big fun, 35 minutes north of Nashville at themintgaming.com. BetMGM, use the code ATOZ200 and turn a $10 moneyline wager into $200 in bonus bets instantly. BetMGM is an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. The law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, wherever justice demands in Tennessee family and criminal courts in 35 counties in Middle Tennessee. AmandaJGentry.com. Chim Chimney for all your chimney needs. Chim-ChimneyInc.com. Adventure Science Center. Explore and discover at adventurecsi.org. And Jarrett Fire HVAC and Plumbing. JarrettCompanies.com to keep your facilities comfortable and secure. So, I mean, Jack, I really think the story of this game for the Titans is just how overmatched they were in each and every area. And, you know, where you go from here is a bit of a nuanced conversation because there are so many holes. There are so many problems, whether it be coaching, whether it be the talent, whether it be offense or defense or O-line or secondary. This Titans team had absolutely nothing on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I actually saw a tweet from my colleague, Terry McCormick, that I thought was very good. What does it say about this offense that your two scoring plays come on trick plays and your inability to just line up and go play football? That's where we are right now. And man, this was ugly.
It was embarrassing. You got to get off the bus for a divisional rival. And the Titans, at halftime, while it felt like they were down and out, they were really kind of still in the game, even though they were dominated thoroughly in the first half, only down 13. But the problems are so vast and they're so multifaceted and they don't get fixed. There's no changes, there's no tweaks, there's no adjustments that I think it's time to question whether or not Mike Vrabel is the right head coach for this football team. When you show up like they did today, after a performance like you had last week, 20-6 on the road, you lose by 2 touchdowns to a Tampa Bay Bucs team, it's not good. And then you show up today and look like that again. The problem is deeper than the roster, right? And I hope that Vrabel isn't being given a pass by management.
Do you believe that the problem is
I
deeper
do.
on the roster?
Absolutely,
What
I
makes
do.
you say that? I'm just curious because I do think there's an argument to be said of like, who wins with this roster?
True. But Mike Vrabel, in the early years of Vrabel, he always did more with less, right? He did so much more with less that it vaulted him into, being one of the elite. He was in that conversation of the elite coaches in the NFL at his peak. Now,
Yeah.
well, he doesn't have much. I think you can make a case he's even underachieving with this roster. Look, in his last 17 games, he's now got a 3-14 record. How many coaches in the NFL survive a 3-14 season?
I mean,
Barely any.
Not many that aren't first-year guys. I mean, like
barely any.
Yeah.
And so I'm worried that he's being given a pass just because, there was a lot of turnover this past offseason. Sure, there are deficiencies in areas, but you have to make changes. You have to know your team well enough to understand what they don't do well and then find a way to mask that problem. That's what the Titans have been good at over the past few years, masking their issues at wide receiver with a good run game, masking, the issues in the secondary with a good pass rush. This year, you haven't masked anything, and I think that is, a testament to this coaching staff and how they really haven't figured out a way to overcome their deficiencies. And sure, there are a lot of problems with the roster, and sure, this is not a playoff roster to begin with, but to be embarrassed like this, they didn't get off the bus in London against the hated rival. They don't get off the bus in Jacksonville today against a team that you've consistently dominated over the past decade. That tells me that the coaching staff is either not game planning right or not getting this team fired up. Not that you have to, not that a coach should get a bunch of grown adults to get fired up. They should be able to do that on their own. But just the way that they look in some of these games is so embarrassing. And just the NFL is a league that's built for competitiveness, right? There's a parity in the NFL where any given Sunday, a bottom feeder can beat a contender. But that law applies for everyone else besides the Titans. And that's what I'm frustrated with. And that's why I think the coaching staff should not get a pass.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there is some level of blame that goes to a coaching staff for this roster as it is. I mean, let's not forget that Mike Vrabel has had his fingerprints all over the personnel decisions that the Titans have made over the past year or so. Really, since John Robinson was fired, Mike Vrabel has really stepped up in making personnel decisions. Now, John Robinson left them a mess, but it was the choices that Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel made this offseason to half compete, to try and set themselves up for the future while bringing in a good amount of veterans. And so, yeah, like I can sit here and say that the talent isn't there, but part of that is the talent assessment that you made in the offseason on which veterans you were going to bring in and what your team needed most. And
Very good point.
Like, yeah, Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, I think there is blame in both of those areas because of the idea of what I just said, that you came into this offseason knowing who was in your secondary. You said, we're good in the secondary. We didn't draft anybody on defense at all. We're not going to do that because we're not that worried about it. And now it's starting to rear its ugly head. And it is a bit concerning of like, how well do you actually understand what you have on your team? And how well do you assess pro personnel in general? Like, how do you judge the free agents that are out there? Does that give me or anybody else or a Titans fan enough confidence in this regime moving forward with another offseason with money? I don't think it can.
Yeah, there's a deeper conversation too about this. I don't know if this is the right time, but it's just another ringing endorsement of why having an offensive head coach is so important. When you hire a defensive oriented head coach, whenever that offense succeeds, you get about 2 or 3 years of success max before that offensive coordinator gets another opportunity to be a head guy somewhere else. But because Mike Vrabel's a defensive coordinator, we've seen the rotation at, a defensive-minded head coach. We've seen the rotation at offensive coordinator, and there's no stability there where there are offensive-minded, head coaching candidates that will come up this offseason, like a Kellen Moore in LA, that I think could really help you. And, you find a way to keep the defense, whole and competitive. But I just don't think that Mike Vrabel is the right guy for this particular roster. This roster needs an offensive-minded guy to come in and take the reins and find a way to put points on the board. The Titans can't score touchdowns. It's tough. And after this offseason, like there's a lot of work to be done in this offseason, retooling, rebuilding, whatever you want to call it. But whoever's in charge come September of next year will not have a pass for 3-14. 3-14 in their last 17. That's not gonna do it.
The Mike Vrabel conversation is not gonna go away. And so I think it's a conversation that has so much nuance to it, like we've mentioned, that I have my own personal beliefs about it, but you also can't ignore results. And so I mean, throughout the rest of this season, it's going to be really, really interesting to seeing what Mike Vrabel says and what the Titans say and what the buy-in in the locker room is. Like, Jack, we really haven't seen loser Mike Vrabel yet. We haven't seen a Mike Vrabel that was not in playoff contention in November and December. Well, we got 7 more games to get through where the Titans are absolutely irrelevant. And so, like, you're fighting for small moral victories. And it's going to be very difficult. So, I mean, we can go ahead and move on with our conversation here.
Real quick, before we do move on to one word, Like there's not going to be, a torch put to Mike Vrabel's seat for losing to teams like the Jags, who are clearly better than the Titans. But Sam, what happens next week if the Titans lay an egg against the Panthers?
Well, it's not a given. I mean, like, this team is absolutely capable of losing to the Carolina Panthers.
And if that
Absolutely
happens,
capable.
this conversation really heats up. Really heats up.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think it is what it is at this point, though. The team's not competitive. And so, yeah, you have to look at, like, I don't know if I think it changes the level of the conversation. But what have we learned about Miss Amy, right? Like, Amy Adams Strunk is not messing around. She's impatient. She wants to win. She did it with John Robinson last year, So where is she with Mike Vrabel this year? As far as, hey, I thought we were going to be great, not 3-7. Fascinating, man. I really have no idea which direction it's going to go. I mean, every indication I've gotten from inside the building is that Mike Vrabel is going to be the Titans head coach, that Amy has no desire for him to not be the Titans head coach. But at what point do you hit a bit of a breaking point? Because the fan base is already there. Where is ownership on that scale? I don't know. So
every man has his price. Every owner has a breaking point with their head coach. For Bud Adams, it was losing to the Texans. You cannot lose to the Texans as a Titans head coach. What is that going to be for Amy? Is it going to be a loss to the Carolina Panthers, who are absolutely, we talk about the Titans being one of the worst rosters. The Panthers probably are bottom two when it comes to having the worst roster in football.
Yeah.
So is that going to be the breaking point? What about if they get swept by the Texans? Does Amy act like her father and maybe pull the trigger there? We'll see. There's a lot to find out, as the Titans play the back nine of this football season.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and ask our signature question here to get the chat more involved this afternoon. What's one word to describe this Titans loss to the Jags? One word to describe this Titans loss to the Jags, and see how the chat is feeling about all of the issues that seem to be popping up here for the Titans. While you guys get your answers in, I'm going to tell everybody about the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Amanda J. Gentry, she is wherever justice demands. She's practiced in Tennessee family and criminal courts in 35 counties in Middle Tennessee as a Middle Tennessee trial lawyer, protecting fathers' rights. That's your fundamental constitutional rights to be a father to your children. Protecting any of your constitutional rights is Amanda J's duty. A Middle Tennessee criminal defense and father's rights attorney. So know your rights, protect your rights. Call Amanda J, and do not talk to the police without a lawyer. That is Amanda J. Gentry, the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. And you can also go online to visit her at amandajgentry.com. Jack, what is the chat saying here? I'm sure it's not pretty, but what are the one words coming in from the chat about this Titans loss?
Yeah, to nobody's surprise, there are going to be a couple answers that I can't put on the screen, but let's get into some that I can. Jack on YouTube says atrocity. Gary says gruesome. Nuclear says O-line. Zach Goodman says pathetic. Ethan says Vrabel. Atrocious from Edwin. Omar says anemic. Clayton Smith checks in with insanity. R. Johnson says lifeless. Eric, normal. Justin, pitiful. Scott, scared. I like that word. John, unacceptable. Roger, atrocious. A couple that I can't post. Bradley says pathetic. So does Michael.
Quite a few that you can't post here. So
Bill on Facebook says pissed. Let's see. Continuing to go. Derek says embarrassing. Andrew, typical. AC expected. Demetrius expected. Anthony Clay, pathetic. Jerry, rebuild. A lot of those words were seen over and over again. Pathetic, expected, typical. Sadly, that is who the Titans are this season. It's hard to expect anything more than what they've shown us these last 3 weeks. Sam.
Jack, before you give yours, one word for me real quick, because you guys have to like the show. Like the show. So I just want to get that out there. There's a lot of people watching, not a lot of likes. I'll say it. I say it every week at this point. You don't have to like the result of the game to like the show. Show a little love on Facebook and YouTube. And just tap the like button. It's real easy. Helps us out a lot. So Jack, one word from you.
Yeah, so my one word is, I don't know if it's 2 words. I believe it is one, so I'll have to use a different word. I'm going to go with basement. I wanted to go with bottom feeder because that's what the Titans are. But in this
Oh,
division,
I like that one.
when you look at the results with common opponents, the Texans are beating teams that are better than them, or better than their roster. The Colts are beating teams that they shouldn't beat. They're all competing against the Jags, if not beating the Jags. Those three teams, I mean, they're pretty, they're right here, but the Titans, they're down here. The Titans are officially in the basement of the AFC South, officially in the basement of the AFC as a whole. And, I understand that the light at the end of the tunnel is the draft pick for next year, but I don't know that one offseason can erase, being the dog that is kicked on the ground, the horse that is dead and continuing to be beaten. Like, I don't know that one offseason fixes all of these issues. Right now, you're in the basement, and you've got to find a way to climb up out of the cellar, back onto a level field with your opponents, the guys that you're going to see twice a year, every year. Right now, the Titans are in the basement, and today just proved it even further.
Well, my one word is draft. It is draft, because right now I think the only question that you are left to answer about the Tennessee Titans is about what the draft pick situation is going to look like, Jack. I literally just hit refresh. So somebody asked, what's our draft pick at this point? Billy Jordan asked that. I just hit refresh on Tankathon, and the Titans, with their loss today, are now slated to pick number 6 in the NFL draft. Number 6. Bad news for the Titans is that the Bears choked away a 2-touchdown lead in about the last 3 minutes of a game and lost to the Detroit Lions. That win would have leapfrogged the Bears pick over the Titans pick. But the New York Giants are about to get their 3rd win. So the Bears and Titans, both Bears, Giants, and Titans all have 3 wins now. So potential opportunity for, this pick to become the 4th pick or 3rd pick and stuff, especially if they are losing the amount of games that we suspect they will, Jack. And if they lose against Carolina, it's tough. I don't really know what to say to Titans fans other than watch to root for the quarterback. And I mean, I think the best situation any NFL franchise can be in, as far as outside of being a Super Bowl contender, is having a quarterback and having a great draft pick at the same time. If you can be at the top of the draft and feel like you have your QB situation figured out, now you're in a power position to either draft one of those top receivers, one of those top offensive tackles, or trade out of the pick altogether and really start to bring in some extra talent to your organization. You got to hope the Titans have Will Levis continue to look pretty good, that they keep him safe, and that they don't get him killed back there. And then you just keep refreshing tankathon.com and hoping for the best pick possible. That's really all there is left in this year.
Oh gosh, it's so frustrating. But yeah, Tankathon's going to get a lot of clicks from Titans fans over the course of the season. Will Levis, we'll get to him in a second, but I thought he threw a couple of good deep balls that may have redeemed his performance today. But at the same time, like,
can we just say, like, they started moving the ball, and I get it. It's not all not all related, because Jacksonville's up by 20 something points and they're not like really pressing quite as hard as possible. But like, once you start taking shots, good things happen. Once you start doing some of those trick plays, taking shots, putting it all out there, you started moving the ball and like actually like, and so this again, what did we talk about pregame, Jack? Like this idea of like, we're going to get dirty in the trenches and run the ball with Derrick Henry.
You can't do it.
Football. You can't do it. So start doing the cute stuff. Even if it, like, maybe you can't do it forever. Maybe it results in some bad
and
come on.
That's a risk you have to take. Like the D-Hop flea flicker, where was that in the first quarter? Maybe you run that the first play of the game, right? And shock them and get your sideline into the game. The sideline hadn't been into the game the last 3 weeks or the last 2 weeks. The Steelers game was close, but you have to do something like. And then the Jeffrey Simmons touchdown at the end of the game. Why even run that there? Why not save that?
I mean, you had that in your bag, that they've been setting that up for weeks because of how Jeff has been out there on goal line formations, and then you burn the trick play down
in a blowout loss.
Down 20.
Save it for a game where you need it. You didn't need it there. I mean, that's.
I mean, I guess you don't really need it when you're 3-7, regardless. So whatever. And hey, you reward Jeffrey Simmons for being the only guy who looked like he wanted to be on the football field today. But yeah, like it just goes back to like, You don't have the horses to play the type of football Mike Vrabel likes to play. And it feels like this coaching staff, again, it is so like set in their ways, and they don't pivot until it's too late. They don't adapt until it's too late. And that's what we saw today. Let's talk a little bit more about the quarterback, though, because like I said, a lot of what he does is really what Titans fans care about and what matters to them right now. So I'm going to ask you guys to grade the quarterback. How do you grade Will Levis's performance today in the loss to the Jaguars? The final numbers on Will Levis: he was 13 for 17 throwing the football with 158 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, a 143 passer rating. 13 of 17, 158 and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, a lot of that came late in the game there. So how do you grade Will Levis is the question. And I'm going to tell everybody about our friends and our partners over at Chim Chimney, doing the job right the first time. Not Chim Chimney doesn't do the job right after being down 27 points and then deciding to switch things up. They do it right from the jump. Honest, dependable, affordable. That's what they are. They have expertise and experience, priding themselves on extensive experience in chimney sweeping and repairs. Chim Chimney's team's knowledge and skills have been honed over years of dedicated service. And when you choose Chim Chimney, you're choosing safety. Services not only enhance chimney performance, but also ensure that your home remains safe from fire hazards and carbon monoxide risks. It's budget-friendly solutions, which are highly important, obviously, to everybody. And their pricing is competitive, often with special offers and discounts available. You can get quality service without breaking the bank. That is chim-chimney.com, doing the job right the first time. They're honest, dependable, and affordable. Jack, was Will Levis honest, dependable, and affordable today? That is the question. He was affordable on that rookie.
It was affordable.
But was he dependable? That is the real question. And what's the chat saying here when they're grading the Titans' young quarterback?
Joey on Facebook leads us off with a B. Chris Dillard agrees on YouTube. Darren says C minus. J Rome says C minus. Mr. Jones going off the grading scale with an L. Cause with a C. B minus from CJ. Billy says A minus. AZ says C. Kindrell says C. Scott said C minus. Zach Goodman said C minus. Nuclear said B minus. Let's go. Lot says C. B minus from Evan. Alessandro's at an A. Yuri says C. Juan B. Anthony Clay C plus. C plus from Chris Bynes as well. King Braylon's at a B. D minus from Keith. Roberts at a D. Roger C. Eric B. Ethan C. Gary Rodriguez D plus. Sam, I'll start us off here.
Yeah.
Looking at these numbers, and we'll go over them one more time as I pull them up. I believe it's 13 of 17.
Correct.
Let's see. 13 of 17. That's 76% completion percentage for 158 yards. Not enough. 2 touchdowns. 1 fumble loss on the bad snap. That's Aaron Brewer's fault.
It's
those numbers
too. I'm not going to completely take that off of Levis.
Yeah, but
it was Aaron Brewer's fault, but hey, it did hit him in the hands. We got to catch the football.
He's not a receiver. But at the same time, let's get to Levis's numbers. Those numbers alone, looking at it box score warrior style, you're probably at a B plus, maybe an A minus.
I agree.
But
yeah, I mean, if you're only looking at the box score, but that does not tell the full story here.
Exactly. But watching that football game, I'm at a B minus. I'm at a B minus because I felt like there were times where he could have gotten rid of the ball quicker before the pressure really bared down on him. He made a couple of those deep throws. They just don't like to throw it deep. I don't understand. Like, that's clearly something that he does at an above average level. Why not take shots earlier in the football game? Levis also had probably, and I'll say this about Levis. While I do believe he's, the future moving forward, and there's a lot of positives that he's shown that I believe Titans fans can get behind and you can build around him. I think that Will Levis, there's a case where he could probably have thrown 6 interceptions so far in his Titans tenure. There have been a lot of dropped picks. There have been a lot of turnover-worthy throws.
Today, there was a couple instances for sure. I actually disagreed with a lot of the ones before where people were like, oh, that was almost picked off. Like, a lot of them were dropped passes that were fine throws that got hit up in the air. I know there was one to NWI last week that like hit him in the hands, almost picked. The Chig in the end zone should have been a touchdown, was almost picked. It's a little relative. Like I think you got to take those,
Sure. And I want to see them let Will Levis make these plays, make these mistakes, so you can coach it out of him. You can help him learn, but you got to be aggressive. The Titans, while he's kind of making half mistakes, they're not getting picked off, but they're still coaching him with a short leash. I give Will Levis a B- because I think he did a decent enough job today. Like he wasn't the reason why the Titans lost this football game, right? The offensive line continues to be an issue. It continues to be tough to put an accurate grade on Levis just based on, the pockets that are collapsing around him and just the pressure that he sees on a consistent basis. He should have no confidence in the guys in front of him. It's got to be difficult for him to feel confident about stepping into a throw down the field, but he still completes a couple. I give Will Levis a B- today.
I agree with the idea that like giving him a grade is kind of impossible still because it's just so hard when number one, like we talk about the pressure that he goes through and like the amount of pressure and QB hits and stuff that he's taking, which is so true. But number two, can we talk about the fact that like he has absolutely no running game? He is a quarterback that is not complemented by the run one iota, like at all. Derrick Henry had one, I believe it was like an 18-yard or 16-yard carry or something like that, that half saved his numbers on the day and got him to 3.8 yards per carry on 10 carries. He had 20 rushing yards for like a good majority of the day today. It is so hard to be an NFL quarterback as a rookie, let alone with really one good wide receiver on the team in DeAndre Hopkins. And like the rest of these guys are role players or whatever, but they're not like number 2 caliber wide receivers. So you have DeAndre Hopkins. You've got a really bad offensive line that does not pass protect. And now you don't even have a running game because your offensive line is just that bad. It's a really, really difficult position for a young quarterback. Yeah. I give him a C+ today. I'm a little bit lower than you because it took a very long time for them to do anything throughout the air. And he made a couple really bad mistakes in the first half that could have resulted in turnovers that I did not like from him. But I mean, all you have to do is look at the percentage and look at like 13 of 17 passes complete. He did a pretty good job of getting the ball to one of his guys and giving them a chance most of the time, despite the circumstances around him not looking that good. So I'm at a C+, but man, it's just so tough. Like he's in a really, really difficult spot.
I thought you hit the nail on the head with the running game. Like defenses, like good defenses in the NFL limit rookies to almost nothing, right? But Levis now has not only the pressure of winning games by himself with no running game, but he's also got to make hero throws because the offensive line, you never know what you're going to get up front on any given play. And that's tough on a rookie. It really is tough on a rookie. So, I feel like I would be giving this grade to a veteran, as well with this type of performance. But here's the thing about Levison being a rookie. He's not making he's not turning the ball over. I mean, the bad snap was on Aaron Brewer. Like Levis is not throwing bad picks. He hasn't done it at least yet. So he's taking care of the football. That's kind of what you wanted on offense with your rookie quarterback. That's what everybody's biggest concern with him was coming out of college. He's doing that. He's just getting no help around him.
And Patrick says, yeah, it's the conservative play calling on first and second down, which I think is a huge thing as well. I mean, Will Levis would turn the ball over a lot if he was like pushing the ball down the field and being a little bit more aggressive. I think he would turn the ball over. I also think you'd see the Titans move the ball a lot more. I don't understand why the Titans, and Patrick, we talked about this a little earlier on the show, this idea that they're still going to play this ground and pound, control the football, run it down your throat game. It's just they don't have the personnel for it. They need more trickery. They need to spread the field a little bit more. They need to use his legs a little bit more. They need to use Tajay Spears a lot more and find a way. And, maybe that's what it is. That's not a knock on Derrick Henry even. Like Derrick Henry is great at what he does. when you have this offensive line, you might just need a guy like Tajay who can actually make a dude miss in the backfield and turn something into a positive play. Whereas, Derek doesn't really have the ability to do that in open space anymore. There's a long laundry list of problems here, Jack.
Will Levis does not even crack the top 10 of those problems.
Correct. And so, yeah, I think anybody in the chat, like I've seen, chat's been a little, coming after us a little bit, being like, oh, Will Levis didn't play well today. I don't think he played well today. I don't think he played poorly today. That's why I gave him a C+. I thought he was fine. I think the circumstances around him are very, very difficult to navigate. And I think if you made a list of the top 10 to 15 problems on the Titans right now, quarterback play from Will Levis is not one of them. Which tells you a lot about where they're at. And it's why, hey, by the way, I don't care if they have the number 1 pick, newsflash, they're not taking a quarterback. They're not drafting a quarterback. They're not drafting a quarterback.
And they shouldn't. And they absolutely shouldn't.
Guys, chat, look me in that. They're not taking a quarterback. Stop. They're okay. It's not going to happen. Will Levis is the quarterback next year. Newsflash to anybody who didn't get what was going on here a little bit.
They absolutely shouldn't take a quarterback either. They've got enough in Levis to feel good about moving forward with him.
Correct. All right, let's move on to our X factors. Recap what you and I both called as our X factors of the game, and as just like they were pre-game, the X factors are presented by X Golf. Let's see if I can pull up my thing here. X Golf. They are the home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee. X Golf Nashville. They've got reinvented player experience by creating the most accurate golf simulators on the market today, giving every person the power to take on the world's top courses, compete in a wide variety of game formats, improve their swing with lessons in superior analytics, all while being totally entertained inside. You can go get a drink at the bar, go grab some food. Monday Night Football leagues are starting November 6th. So those are going on right now, and you can compete for prizes and bragging rights while watching Monday Night Football. That's a great time. It's a great gig if you're going to look for a spot to watch the game at. You can find league details at xgolfnashville.com. And, it's great. Golf simulators are fun. It's about to get cold. You don't always want to be out in the cold playing golf, but you got to keep your game up to your standards here. You got to keep swinging. So go to X Golf, home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee. Jack, our X Golf X Factor, mine was that the Titans needed to get aggressive. They did not. They really did not. Heck, I think that first drive out of the half, you're down 20-0. They had a 4th and 1 from their own territory. I would have gone for it there. Like, the Titans are only going to win football games if they catch a little bit of magic, pull a rabbit out of a hat, get aggressive, and hit a big one, right? And you have a couple of those DeAndre Hopkins plays where you do the flea flicker and get a long touchdown. This coaching staff refuses to be aggressive. It's a lot of boring training wheel BS. And yeah, I don't know why, but that's where they're at. And they're settling for losses. And as long as they keep doing that, they're going to keep settling for losses. So yeah,
it's a high school offense.
I agree with my X factor still, and I don't think the Titans recognized it quite like they should have.
It's a high school offense. They refuse to let professionals be professionals. Mine was running the football, and Derrick Henry, more importantly. The Titans ran the ball for 92 yards. It's 4.84 yards per carry, but that number does not tell the story of today's game.
We'll take away that 16-yard run and Chris Moore's 30-whatever-yard run.
38-yard.
Ineffective for most of the entire game.
And that's over half of the Titans' rushing total. They just didn't get it going, and they were down too badly in the second half to try and reestablish the run, which they couldn't have done anyways with the offensive line blocking in front of them. So once again, the Titans' running game is not an X factor because they don't have the guys up front to move people around and create holes to run through. Derrick Henry, I feel bad for the guy. He's second in the NFL in rushing yards, which is actually an incredible accomplishment if you watch the games.
He's trying to add to that Hall of Fame resume, man. Like, we're trying to get some yards to build the legacy a little bit here, dude. And he is like, man, the Titans are killing him, like killing his legacy, killing a lot of it by just absolutely no help at this point. I do feel bad as well for Derrick right now.
Yeah, it's tough on Derrick, and which makes it tough on Levis in the passing game, right? Because if Derrick can't get going, then they're just going to they're going to sit back and let Will Levis try and beat him. And he's a rookie. He's not going to be able to do that by himself often. But yeah, the running game didn't get going once again. It continues to be a huge problem. You can't win in this league if you can't run the football. the Titans' identity has been running the football, and they won a lot of games by doing that. It's just times have changed, and the personnel doesn't match that play style anymore. So they're kind of their hands are tied, and we're going to keep seeing running or rushing efforts like we saw today as the season progresses.
Yeah, for sure. We can go ahead and move it on here. Get to Mike Vrabel's winning formula, which Jack, you talked about how I've been hitting that nail on the head for a few weeks now, and how the Titans have gotten away from being a Mike Vrabel team. By the way, how atrocious were all those defensive penalties on third down that led to automatic first downs? Continued issue and witty banter 96 is all you do is complain, Sam. All right, well, you tell me what I shouldn't complain about after a 34-14 loss and 3-14 in the last 17 games. If you can come and tell me what I shouldn't complain about, you want me to come on here and be all happy-go-lucky, all cheery about your 3-7 Titans, I'd be happy to do that, witty banter. You just let me know what you want, buddy. You let me know what you want. But I got to call it like I see it, and the team sucks. So miss me with
It's
that.
not easy. It's not easy polishing the same turd every single week. It's not easy. I mean, we try
I
and
don't know
break it
what he
down as
wants me to
honestly.
do. I don't know what you want me to do. All you do is complain. All I do is talk about this team falling short of the expectation and the standard that the fan base has and that the organization has for them. So yeah, I try and be a nice voice for the fans. I'm not a Titans fan. At all.
You should be complaining. You should hold this team to a higher standard. You should be disappointed with these results. You should be embarrassed when you get blown out by a division rival who you've owned over the last decade. All of these things are reasons to be upset and reasons to complain and reasons to want better. So I'll leave it at that.
I don't think, whatever. That's my opinion. I don't think you need to it's not complaining. It's just what is there good to talk about? There's very few things to talk good about here. And if I was sitting on the show and I was sitting here being all optimistic about everything, talking about, oh, this is good and that's good. And now how about this? You guys would be calling me crazy saying, hey, are you watching the same football game as we're watching? So, sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
let's get to Mike Vrabel's formula, because the same issues continue to crop up with the turnovers, right? The Titans have won the turnover battle once. That continues again today as they lose it again. I believe the Titans lost it 2-0. Am I right in that, Sam? I'm trying to pull up the
2
stats.
turnovers to 0. There was the fumbled snap, and then Eric Gayer on the punt return, long snapper for the Jaguars, forcing a fumble, which was just hilarious for all the wrong reasons. Let's get into that Titans winning formula, Mike Vrabel's winning formula, which, as always, is powered and brought to you by Adventure Science Center, our partners over at Adventure Science Center. You can enjoy unlimited samples of liquor, spirits, and cocktails, and learn about the science of alcohol and mixology at some of their adult classes. I know they've got some Christmas stuff coming up as well, some holiday classes that you can get involved in over there. You can explore and discover with a full family adventure at adventurecsi.org. Contemplate the endless concept of infinity in the immersive exhibit Infinium Room. You can challenge your friends and family and learn about the human body as you fight pathogens with lasers at Body Quest. Fun for the whole family. Adventure Science Center is a great time. You learn something, you have a little bit of fun. You can go to your adult classes and enjoy that as well. So whether it's the science of mixology or the theory of infinity, go to adventurecsi.org to schedule your next visit. And have fun for the whole family. Jack, the Mike Vrabel winning formula is 3 things. It is that turnover battle that you mentioned. It is having the better quarterback rating, and it is winning the rushing battle. The Titans certainly did not win the rushing battle. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Dearnish Johnson combined for 93 rushing yards. Then you had a big one for Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence with 2 rushing touchdowns with his legs. Will Levis did have a higher quarterback rating than Trevor Lawrence at 143.8 to Lawrence's 119.5, but Lawrence absolutely outplayed Levis. Does not take a ton of thought really to really recognize that when you watch the game that Lawrence was the better player. And then, as we mentioned, 2-0, another game where the Titans defense does not create a turnover.
We need to start renaming this Mike Vrabel's losing formula, because all they do is lose these categories week in and week out. They've won the turnover battle once this season in a blowout loss to Cleveland where it didn't even matter. They can't run the football. They can't stop the run. And, Will Levis somehow has a better quarterback rating than Trevor Lawrence. I don't know who gives those grades out, but I disagree with that. It's
It's
week in
so
and
much
week
just
out. They
based on
can't.
completion percentage, which is just not an accurate way of us, grading a quarterback's performance. But yeah,
But when you consistently lose the rushing battle and you're consistently losing the turnover battle, more importantly than the rushing battle, you're going to lose a lot of football games. Until the Titans can find a way to create a turnover on defense, for God's sake, they don't have a chance to beat some of these teams. When you're playing a team that's better than you in all facets of the game, like the Jags are today, like the Jags were today, and we're heading in, and you don't create a turnover, how are you going to set this offense, which has struggled in general to find the end zone, to score more points? It's impossible to win that way. You're already handicapped with that offense. You've got to create a turnover to set them up with a short field every now and again. And you can't have bad snaps. A center is to be seen and not heard. Ben Jones was seen dominating the trenches and never heard from making a mistake. Aaron Brewer gave up a huge sack in the first half, had a bad snap, one of many this season, and is once again an issue. He has no business being an issue. There are plenty of things wrong with this Titans team. He does not need to contribute to the already losing battle the Titans are fighting in the turnover department. That can't happen.
Pulling up the football database right now to look at the Titans turnover differential. Coming into today, it was -5, so they are now -7, and they have the league least 7 takeaways, tied with those Carolina Panthers that we mentioned for the least takeaways in the NFL. And actually, if the Panthers had a takeaway today, which let me check, I don't know if they did or not. I do not believe they did. So the
I wouldn't
Titans are
count on it.
still right, playing Dallas. The Titans still tied for the fewest takeaways in the NFL with Carolina at 7 in now, what is it, 10 games for the Titans. So yeah, it's very, very bad. Somebody had a comment earlier. I lost it now, but I thought it was right on the money. It was just, this team is unrecognizable. This is not Titans football. This is not the team that was here just 2 years ago. And like the brand of football that the Titans played just 2 years ago. It has so quickly evaporated into absolute nothingness that it's hard to see how they find their way back. And that's where those questions come in that we obviously will continue to talk about throughout the rest of the year about who the right guy is to potentially lead them back as far as head coach is concerned, and whether or not it's Mike Vrabel's job. Jack, before we get out of here today, we have to look at the rest of the AFC South and AFC playoff contenders, but I'm more interested in really diving into that draft order. So we are going to go around the league and look at where the Titans are at in the draft order. Before we do that, I'm going to give some love to our partners at Jarrett Companies, and Jarrett Fire with comprehensive fire safety solutions. From installation to inspections and maintenance, they've got you covered. Fire sprinklers, alarms, extinguishers. If you have it, they can do it with maintenance and safety with installation. They have industry-leading expertise and 75 plus years of experience, technicians certified and trained to the highest standards, customized plans to fit your facility or home's unique needs, rapid response, and a team that's available 24/7 with emergency services. And they're locally owned. They aren't corporate at Jarrett Fire, and they like it that way. You can call and talk directly to a team member today for a free quote at jarrettcompanies.org. Thank you to the Middle Tennessee Fire and HVAC protection experts at Jarrett. Jack, so I've refreshed Tankathon. Those Titans at 3-7, like I mentioned. The New York Giants won today. They're 3-8. Chicago is 3-8. Two teams that are potentially a win away from leapfrogging the Titans, or I guess the Titans leapfrogging them in the draft standings. Arizona is 2-9, but has been looking more competitive since Kyler Murray returned. They almost beat Houston today. So Arizona could be a candidate to win a couple more games before things are all said and done. And then you have the New England Patriots, who are 2-8 coming into this week. And they are they on bye this week? I believe they're on bye this week. Yes. So for the rest of this week, taking a look around the league at what teams the Titans probably need to win. Look at Seattle and LA going on right now. The Los Angeles Rams are currently 3-6, so they have as many wins as the Titans. And go Rams if you're a Titans fan hoping to get a better draft pick. Where do we realistically think it is a realistic spot for this team to draft? right now.
I think 4-7. I think in between 4 and 7. I
Yeah,
don't see
I don't
them. I
think.
don't see them winning 3 more games.
Well, I don't think they're going to push it into the top 3. I think that'd be really tough with Carolina at 1-9. I mean, best case scenario, you win or you get the second overall pick, but like I don't think they're gonna go winless. I really don't think they're gonna go winless. I think they'll luck into a win or two here, and then you're in a tough spot. But I do think, yeah, that 4-7, 4-6 pick range, realistic, and probably where you need to be to grab one of those offensive tackles. You start looking at mock drafts around the league, it's going to be Caleb Williams and Drake May and Marvin Harrison, but Olufushanu, Joe Alt, those top offensive tackles, they're going in that 4-6 range. You don't want to be too far back because then you're going to screw yourself over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to draft a left tackle, right? That's all. But I mean, we'll see how the board plays out. But
They're
you'd
going
imagine
going
it's a left tackle.
They're going.
However, if one of those guys does drop, you could always entertain the idea of trading back. I like what the Texans did
For
last
what?
year.
For a QB? It's
No,
like
no, no.
a
Just
trade
best
back
available.
to a team that wants to come get a quarterback. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. We talk about aggressiveness on the field. I like how the Texans were aggressive in the offseason, traded up back into the top 2, got Will Anderson and CJ Stroud. The Titans are like, they have so many holes that they need to fill them. Obviously, you'll fill it with $90 million in free agency. You'll fill some of those. But you've maybe entertain the idea of jumping back in the top 10. They don't have a lot of draft capital to work with as it is, so that's tough. But I do hope that they have an aggressive mindset heading into the draft. It feels like John Robinson kind of sat and let things happen to him in the draft, and the board ended up being murky by the time he would go on the clock. Picking in the late 20s, that happens. But I just want Rand Carthon to be aggressive when the draft rolls around this year.
It might be a boring draft for Titans fans, but maybe boring is good. If the Titans are picking 5th overall and they just stay put at 5th overall and draft their offensive linemen, it's not going to be sexy, but it might be actually what they need because they got to build this thing the right way. And I think it starts with the offensive line, but certainly doesn't stop there as the years go on here and you try and figure out how you got here and how you get back. That's all we got for today's post-game show. Appreciate you guys that hung out with us. Give us a like on the show before you head out. That's how best way to support us and help us out before you head out the door so that people can come in and watch this back and watch our conversation back. But we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be on, with Titans at 2 tomorrow afternoon. Austin Stanley and Zach Bingham will be live for the A to Z Sports Morning Show, and Buck Rising tonight from maybe Jacksonville, maybe Nashville. I don't know what Buck's flight schedule is like, but he's got A to Z Sports Primetime coming up. So stick it out with us, A to Z Sports. We've got you online and on YouTube and Facebook with all of your Titans content as we tough out the rest of this 2023 season. Thanks for hanging out. As always, we will talk to you guys later.
Happy Thanksgiving.